right, so last time I think we got to page Shin Bet.
Yes.
Okay, so it said v'chachayus ratzav v'shuv. Now this phrase is ratzav v'shuv. I know the breath of Rabbi Nachman works on that. He says hu sod hazivug ha'elyon shal Abba and Ima ratzav v'shuv. He says that characterizes is that yichud. And how does the yichud come about? It comes about through Daas. I don't know if that's answering the question or if it means that Ratzav V'Shuv means both. It goes back and forth. It refers to Daas, all of them. The thing is like this: Ki kol yichud hu b'derek Ratzav V'Shuv. That's the way yichud goes. V'kachu lin yunei b'zivug Abba and Ima. That was a significant idea there, but he still hasn't decided. He still hasn't defined it exactly, except it sounds like coming and going. So he says, "Who le'inyanei bezivug Abba and Ima ki hinei shorsha elyon da Abba and Ima who bechech v'garon shall pad erikanped." Okay, that's chek and goron. We've heard that before. Shechech hu shorish Abba, v'goron hu shorish Ima. And the two of them come together through the sod of Daas. And so therefore the chiyus, I guess, is going back and forth. What does it mean? Ki haruach nikra chiyus or chayos. The fi shuhu chaya adam, because it's actually the force. So that's why I switched over to shkiyus. I don't know. So he says the fi shuhu chaya adam, v'hu ratzav v'shuv tomed, and it's constantly going back and forth. The ruach, ki haruach nechnas v'yotze b'peh tomed. It's always coming in and out. It's always coming in and going out of the mouth. He said of the mouth always. Ve'in a pasuk la'olam never stops. So shorish zivug tahatadiri shall Abba and Ima, and this I'm using the word characterizes. He says this is the secret of the root of the zivug that is constantly happening between Abba and Ima, because they the hamshech chiyus the olamos, in order to be able to bring this life force to the olamos, and it's characterized by these words ratzav v'shuv. Shuhu zivug she'enu paisik la'olam, and that's a kind of yichud that never stops. Kadechse v'zech shekasuf, b'pasuk ha'rivi'i, in the next pasuk, v'yar elokim esaor kitov. Let's go here. He says, what's that mean? Shuhu sod or hadabechinas das shenikritov. So he says a couple of things. He says that the light in this pasuk is referring to das. And he said, because why? That is called by the name Tov. V'kumoshe ne'emar, imru tzadik ki Tov. So tzadik is yisod. So he says, okay, shenikra Tov. Okay, let me go on. Pirush. Tzadik shuhu yisod shemiyached bein dachar v'nekeva, which is what actually makes the yichud nikra Tov. And for this reason, it's also on the middle line. So it's also kitov because it's machriya up above. This is the meaning of the fact that the light is good. But if there's no yichud, that becomes lotov. Commotion, the Emmer, like it says like this: Lo tov yosa adam levado. V'amar od high b'maskala. So levado, I guess, means that there is no yichud, that the male aspect is not together with the female aspect. Here he's saying that refers to Abba and Ima. V'amar od, he says furthermore, high b'maskala salkal. This is actually something that is balanced. I guess to be balanced. Zeho or ketov. Shuhadas, oila besod tikun a maskala. It goes on to the maskala with the mishkal. He says, "Shenaasach ba'olam batikun," that happens in the olam batikun. It's on one side or the other. Shuhu sod maskala shall yichud dakav v'nekeva, which is the concept of a balance that puts male and female together. balances opposites, I think. Ki haschalos tikkun amaskala, because the beginning of the tikkun and the maskala hu kan ba'aba ve'ima. This is where the concept starts, where you have two opposites like Abba ve'ima, hamisyachnim ayidech Daas, which are put together through this middle part, which is called Daas, as we talked about. So he said kadmoi beluchudoi, aval Abba ve'ima. Hakodmi bepasuk hasheni yehi or v'yehi or. I think we mentioned that before. That's word yehi. So he says the two times that it says yehi or refers to Abba v'Ima. Heim levadam below yichud. So they're actually just mentioned by themselves. Which I just wonder about this idea, which means what? That they're not generated from it sounds to me like they're pre-existing in some way. That's what sounds like he or heim levadim below yichud. They're separate. Ki adayim ein lechem das besod or kito, because there's no das between the two of them. It's only Abba ve'Ima. There's no das to put them together. V'kevan, and this really is, I guess, his point. He wants to say how it is that das acts. So lechem das ein lechem yichud. So without that, there's no yichud. Ki ein zivug below das. V'omer od ki ata b'his galus or hadas. But now, when you come over and you see that you're seeing the light of the das mispashet, the das, the mata b'zer anpin. Now this das moves down into zer anpin. Kulul l'chad is chazer, and then this chazer vav. Let's see with v'az chazrim kol hashlosha b'chinas or. So now the three different aspects of light, shehem yehi or v'yehi or, and then he says ha'or kitov, those three oros. Okay, his kalo v'bechinas or echad, to bring them all together into only one light. Okay, so he says the ors, and the last one with the or kitov. The or kitov, because tov represents the uniting principle of das. Shehu sod os vav the zer anpin, which is really the secret of the vav. Once again, the middle line of zer anpin hanikra das. Now, this is a statement here. He says that the middle line is zer anpin. That was my words. Let's say shehu sod os vav the zer anpin. This is the vav of zer anpin. Well, zer anpin, I don't know. I don't know where to put it. I mean, zer anpin is a yud ke vav ke. Does he mean to say that it's the vav of zer anpin, which is what he says? It's the os vav of zer anpin, or zer anpin is a vav. Hanikra das, and that's also caused das. So it sounds like it's panemius. I'm trying to just picture it. Vaz nasad siras Yakov. So then it makes this combination: yud, k, and vav. So this vav represents zer anpin, but it also, he's saying, it actually is related to the original das that united Abba ve'Ima. Now it's in zer anpin, who sod osius yud k, the Abba ve'Ima canal, and then it's shedechlal yachad ba'os vav the zer anpin, and now they're together in the vav zer anpin. Va'inyan, who the inyan is like this: ki oros hamochin the Abba ve'Ima. So these lights that come, they originally said they were separate lights. Mispashtin b'zer anpin, but now they're together with this das, and now they're mispashtin b'zer anpin. So gavun lovun the Abba, the Abba, it remains white, and he brings a whiteness into zer anpin. V'gavun edom, the Ima, brings a redness into zer anpin. Nechlalam me'irich v'yachad b'panid the zer anpin, and then they become part and shine on the face of zer anpin. Now das then becomes not das, just das, it becomes edus. What? That you could see it on the face and it shows you it's there. Because those lights that shine on the face is zer anpin. Who have a root in Abba ve'Ima, that's really where they come, and now they're shining on the face is zer anpin. Hema me'idim al yichud Abba ve'Ima, so they're testifying to you about the yichud that took place or takes place between Abba ve'Ima lahodid as zer anpin, to give birth to zer anpin. There's a lot of different possible ideas there. We'll go on. It says, now he has some other words. Maybe we should read the top, and I'm neglecting it. It's just one line. It says, Achasa, which we have, of course, the same lines when we were reading the Rav. Achasa o umadato. Kalilin do bedo. They are incorporated one with the next, with these letters Yud and K. Katrin Rechimen the Mischabkan, like two lovers who are hugging. Okay, so let's see what this means. It says Achasa umodato. Achos and Modo Shehem Abba and Ima. So he says one Achos, Abba apparently is Achos, and Ima is Moda. Ki Abba Shuhu Chachma Nikra Achos, Ve'ima Rabashihi Bina Nikras Moda. Kamosha and Emmer, like it says like this, Emmer L'Chachma Achosi Ata. So he said to let me just, I can't read that word. Let me get better light. That's what I'll do. Okay, there we go. I have to have the better light. Okay, so Emmer L'Chachma Achosi Ata. Say to Chachma, you are my sister. Now, Achosi Ata. So if the Bina Tikra Kalilin Da B'da B'Yud K. So what does that mean? So he says that this Haim Kalulim Zeb Zeb B'Shtei Osios Yud and K. So these two letters show you how these were. He says Shel Shem Avaya. Ki Os Yud Hu Chachma V'Os Hey. Of course, we understand is Bina. V'Shnechem Kalulim Zeb B'Zeh. And what happens is the two of them come together. I think that I'm going to say here, but that later on he kind of puts it together. This is Abba and Ima Eloi, and I don't know if he says this exactly like that. So he says, "Va'os hey hu bina v'shneicha kolulim zebezecha dahaina bina kolulim ba'os yud." That you can see the bina is incorporated in the yud shal chachma. V'chachma kolulim ba'os hey shal bina, and so we know that if you look at the letters, you could find it. V'zecha v'sod ha'amor b'sefer Yitzira, he says, we saw this previously, and he says, havein b'chachma v'chachma b'bina. V'inyan, who the ayat is like this, ki chachma hu os yud b'milui. Chachma is a letter yud in yud vav daled. V'osios vav daled shal b'milui na'azach b'hem os hey shal bina. They make a hey of bina. 1 second. Okay, Kitsuras os hey morkava, because the letter hey actually is morkavis, is really grafted together. Mishdei osius do the haina os dalad melamala o besocha os vav v'harecha b'ki ba'os yud vav ba'os yud b'milu. If you see it in a milui form, kululim yachad shtei osius yak, then you have together two letters, the two letters Yud and K there, Shal Chachma Ubina. V'zecha the Sod Habein B'Chachma, that's what we understand, is that the Bina is in Chachma. Kolomer, Shachab Bina Kalula B'Socha Chachma. Okay, Ba'oz Hey. Now also, if you look at the Hey, Shal Bina Kashihi B'Milui K Aleph, and look at it like that, he says, Hine Os Aleph, that's the extra letter that you have here in the Milui, Shel hamilui hu chachma. Now we know that. See, he says what? I've seen other places we say that it's Eric Anpin. So he says it's chachma. Kitzuras os aleph, because you could take the letter aleph, more kevis min shlosh osius yud vav dalad. You could put it together in such a way that the aleph is made out of the yud on top. Shal chachma dehaida os yud melamala biyamin v'os vav balachson, and then the vav is on an angle. V'os dalad melamata, and then you have a dalad down below that will also show you v'harecha b'ki b'os hey b'milui k'lulim yachad shtei osius hey yud. You actually see that they're there. Shall bina v'chachma, which represents bina and chachma, v'zecha v'sod chachma b'bina. So this is the concept of chachma and bina. K'lom shachar chachma k'lula b'socha bina, because chachma is inside of bina. V'hine bina, he says, k'lula b'chachma, so this bina, which is inside of chachma, he ima ilor, called ima ilor. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we cut out on the. Let's take this middle line word. It's middle word. Kolomar. Shachachachma kolulu b'socha bina. B'hinecha b'bina kolulu b'chachma hi ima ilah. So that bina that is a part of chachma is bina ilah. Hakolulu b'Abba ilah, who's incorporated in Abba ilah. So that's what you're talking about in that level. V'chachma hakolulu b'bina who Yisrael sava debud. But then you have the other concept. You have another concept, which is chachma de kolulu bina. So when bina is incorporated in Abba, that's Abba and Ima Eloi. And then if chachma is included in bina, that's already going downwards, I guess, and that's the next parts of which is the one that actually affects directly Zeranpin, who Yisrael Savalo Kolu Tavuna. V'Omer Odin, he says, Ketrin Rechimin, Ki Abba Ve'ima, Heim Kushnei Ochavim Shehem Tamed Ba'av V'Reya Zechazeh. So I'm thinking it means Abba Ve'ima Eloyin. Ki L'chein Nekroim Abba Ve'ima Reim. That's why they're called lovers from Shir Shirim. The Mischagim, excuse me, lovers that are hugging. V'Heim Mischavrim Zera Ben Zera B'Sod Chibuk. So how they come together is the concept of the chibuk, of hugging. Ki Abba ve'Ima Malvishim as a Yedayim shall Erik Anpin, and the word, the use of the word Yedayim, so it means arms. I'm sure. He said let's write again. Ki Abba ve'Ima Malvishim as a Yedayim shall Erik Anpin, Shehu Makom Machibuk, which is the place where the chibuk takes place. That is what? That they are clinging to Erik Anpin, that's their chibuk, or what? There's something in between them, no? They're on the right and left arm. Canal. So those two potential, I'm not sure exactly what he's saying here. This is the concept of hugging with the arms. In other words, the arms are what's hugging, and they're hugging around Erik Anpin in between them. So it's Pnimi to them, and they're hugging with their arms. Does that sound right? So let's go up to the top again. He says, "Hey mischavrim zera mezera besod chibuk." So hugging is a certain aspect. So he says, "Ki Abba ve'Ima malvishim as a yedayim." Abba ve'Ima cover over the arms of Erik Anpin, shehu makom b'chibuk, which is the place. That's the part that's really a little bit vague to me of the chibuk. That is, in the place where Erik Anpin is. They're on the right and left of Erik Anpin. V'gam his kalos Abba ve'Ima hem kafulim. Kafulim besod haben v'chachba v'chachba b'bina. They incorporate themselves in each other, or that means to say that there's also the sub parts of there as well. Shehu soda chibuk b'yadayim, which is the secret of the chibuk that goes all the way down. I guess the whole arms. I don't know. Ki heim yedei hazacha nechlala b'nekeva. Because here you see that the arms, I guess they're coming together with Erik Anpin in between. So now you have the word use of the iskalos twice. So this is to tell you that all of this is coming into the same unity, I think he means. I may have to read it again. He said, "The hainu zivug Abba ve'Ima Elohim shehem klalos chachma." They're called, when you look at it in that way, Abba ve'Ima Elohim as a klal, a part of the klal, are considered to be chachma. The zivug Yisrael sav tavuna, and that yichud shehem klalos bina. That would be bina in just a regular good old yud ke vav ke, I guess. that you would have Abba and Ima, the law would be with the Yud and etc. So he says, now we go to a different place. So let me see where this reads to. Let's read the top. The top says, Shita Nafkin Ma'anfa the Sharsha de Gufa. So 6 come out in branches, but Ma'anfa from a branch, I don't know, the Sharsha Begufa that has its root in the body. Then he says, Lishan Mamalel Ravavan. Then the concept of the tongue. It says out this whatever concept Ravavan means. It's double Rav. I don't know. Lishan, what's the tongue? Dasasim ki yud v'kei, bein yud v'kei. So he says that the tongue closes, covers the gap, I'm not sure, between the yud and the kei. All right, so what is he talking about? Okay, let's find out. So Shita, b'sheish kitzvos shel Erik Anpin. So now we're talking about the goof of Erik Anpin. Nafkin yotzin the mispashtim badas. So Das comes out of the vok of Erik Anpin. It's, wait a minute, mispashtim hadas, so it spreads out from there. Shuhu apinimiu shel shisha kitzvos, which is really the inside track that feeds, the inside channel that feeds the others. Ma'anfa the sharsha the gufa. V'zecha v'das mispashet the mata b'shisha kitzvos. So this das, which is now moving downward into the 6 kitzvos, who anaf hayotze min shorish haguf. It's a branch that comes out of the root of the body, asher lamala b'rosh hapartzef, which is up above in the head of the partzef. Gishorish hadas hu lamala b'rosh Erik Anpin, because where does das come from? It comes from the head of Erik Anpin, b'makom moach hadas, in the place of the moach hadas is. And from this, then there are branches of this das. See, he's Adas Lamata B'Shisha Kitzvos Shel Guf Erik Anpin, and it's where it spreads into the branches of the das the Mata B'Shisha Kitzvos Shel Erik Anpin. So it moves. That's how this is the pattern in Erik Anpin. So it's like arteries that go to these different places. This is this das. And before inya the dasha mavriach b'kol azivugim. So what happens is the nature of this das, and wherever there are opposites, it is the koach that makes all of the zivugim. Minakatsa elyon, and that refers to Erik Anpin. Lakatsa tachton, or he means of the 6 kitzvahs, of either one, or maybe lishan mamalo ravavan. So let's talk about this. Hu beloshan shel Erik Anpin is really the tongue, kaviyachol to say that, of Erik Anpin. Hanikra loshan b'deberes gedailus. So, well, he says this is a tongue that speaks big things. For ha'inyan, the Indian is like this. Ki loshan Erik Anpin, because the tongue of Erik Anpin, hu b'bechinas das. It's really a das. What's a das do? Hamiyached chech v'shinayim. Now, just before we saw the yichud, the concept of chech v'gorin, but now he moves over to a different this das, the tongue. He says it unites the palate with the teeth. Shehem sod chochma bina. So this is the secret of chochma bina. B'koach hayichud the elyon the Erik Anpin yotzach hadiva b'bechinas Erik Anpin. So in relationship to the yichud that's taking place in Erik Anpin, then that's where the concept of dibor comes out. B'bechinas Erik Anpin, that is the Erik Anpin dika dibor. Shehu b'sod gedolos, which is the secret of this word gedolos, not developed right at this moment. And b'var inyan the yichud shel chochma v'bina. So let's talk about this yichud between Chochmah and Bina, shenaasa yedechat meloshen, that the tongue is able to develop. Lishan dasasim bein yud and k. Actually, the tongue is closed up between these 2 letters, yud and k. And why he writes this k like this, I don't know, but he does. But because I guess that's the concept of das, because this k is the K. The first K is going to be the K that's like from Zeranpin, so it's like a middle line K. Okay, that's my analysis. I don't know what it means. So okay, Lashon Zecha B'Shel Erik Anpin. So this tongue of Erik Anpin. So he uses this word who sasam tamid bein shtei osius yud and K. So he says it's always closing. What does sasam mean here? Does it mean blocks? He blocks the boundaries between the two. He comes in between them, shel shem havaya. So he gets in between the yud and K of the shem havaya. Sasam tamid bein, between these two letters. Lamala beped Erik Anpin, because let's talk about in this tremendous panemius of the mouth of Erik Anpin, whose sasam tamid bein chech v'shinayim, it's always hidden in between these two places. So he wants to say that, just imagine, chech means a palate, it means your power of taste. It's very subjective. And the shinayim are really, crushers. So there's nothing, one is very subjective, the other was extremely objective. So maybe that's a metaphor for the opposites. So in any ways, this is the tongue gets in between the two of them, just like it's in between the palate and the teeth. So he says, Shuhu b'bechinas yichud chachma b'bina, b'shorish Abba and Ima, and it's the root of the concept of Abba and Ima. Yachech hu b'chinas chachma, the palate is chachma, Vashinayim he bebechinas bina, it's grinder. And through how does the actual speech come out? It comes out through the tongue. So Daas shemechaber bein hachech vashinayim, that actually makes a yichud between these two. V'achar kach mispashet lashon. Then after that, this tongue continues to move out. Shel Erik Anpin. Beguf bein yadayim, and it works its way down the body into the arms. And when you use yadayim, all the way through to the hands. V'Abba and Ima malbishim yadayim the Erik Anpin. So now it says that Abba and Ima are now covering over the hands, called the kaviyachol of Erik Anpin, which are his arms. They're covering his arms. Abba b'yama v'Ima b'small. V'Abba v'Ima b'shem shtei osius yud and K. So here you come over and you see Abba v'Ima. There are two letters, yud and K. I mentioned about the K before. Mizdavgein b'koyach lashon shel Erik Anpin. So therefore, a yichud takes place between these two letters. Now I said before, as is a question, is that these letters were pre-existing, or how do I understand this? I'm not sure. He said because Erik Anpin, hidden inside of Erik Anpin, is some kind of a Yud K Vav K. So maybe, there is some kind of split that allows them to exist before a Yichud. So they exist before a Yichud. So it's not really hearing how they exist, but they're related to the Mazel. I'm just going through in my mind how he says that they're existing, and now a Yichud takes place through the hands of Erik Anpin. Osius Yud K mizdavkin b'koach lashon ser Erik Anpin. Well, he says it's this lashon which spreads down through the arms. So hadas hamizavik this pashet ad sham, that spreads into the place of these hands where the yichud could take place. It allows them to join there. B'kevin shechayichud sheyichud Abba v'Ima hu yichud tedibri. So since it's going to be permanent. Nimsa shachal lashon shucha yisod. So therefore, yasad lashon. Now he says the lashon before he was a das. Now he says the lashon, which is a yisod, who saw some talmid. It's always blocking. It's always closed. So hein lamala beyichud chech v'shinayim. Whether you're talking up there, it actually gets in between these two elements, which are chech and shinayim. He said the Erik Anpin shehem shorish Abba and Ima, which is really the root of the same that same das that blocks, moves all the way through the body of Erik Anpin. V'heim lamata b'yichud Abba and Ima malvishim yadayim, and they're also the root of that too, the Erik Anpin, because they're covering over this arms of Erik Anpin. V'hine os, and which has this das within it. So he says v'hine osius vav and dalud. Hu hadas miyached base osius yud k. So it says that the letters yud and k, which you have to go back and think how the letters are put together, and then the letters vav and daled. He says the vav and daled, which are part of the original letter yud, Hu hadas, that's really those last two are really the das. Ki osius yud and k shall Abba and Ima. Base osius, excuse me, base osius yud and k shall Abba and Ima. Ki osius vav dalad heim soismim bein osius yud and k. Shehem milui kach yud vav dalad k aleph. Now where is the block? He says the vav dalad is in between the yud and the k. That's what he means to say. V'heim sod hadash asasam behelim. So this is the secret of Daas that's closed up, hidden away be'ez zivug Abba and Ima at the time of making a yichud between Abba and Ima. Okay, so let me take a drink of tea here. Okay, so he is really describing a great deal, but a lot to put together. Now we go to this, let's read a little on the top. This one says, I'm for Hashem. Yikra b'shem Yaakov. Be called in the name Yakov, of Yaakov. Be called Yaakov. This is what it's written. Yado l'Hashem, his hand to Hashem. V'shem Yisrael Yechane. The name of the Yisrael, you're going to call him by that name. Yechane Mamish. Okay, I'm going to stop there. So he says like this. Dechsiv. For Indian Shlosh Dargos Chachma Bina Daas. So let's say there's 3 different levels here. Merumas because of, you could see it in this pasuk in Yeshaya, ki hinei la'asi levocha b'yikra kol Yisrael b'shem b'shem. All Yisrael will be called by the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei. V'hainu zeh yomer l'Hashem ani. So going on, he says, Pirush, zeh, so I don't know, shorsh nishmaso b'bechinas chachma. Yomer l'Hashem, so this chachma, I guess, is he saying Zeh is Chachma? Shorish Nishmaso, that the root of the Neshama, his Neshama, is Bechinas Chachma. Yomer LaHashem, he should say to Hashem, Ani, he said the word Ani, Besod Shem Havaya Shalem, in the secret of the name Yud Kei Vav Kei complete. So what is he saying here? Vayinyan hu, so the Indian is like this, Ki Chachma he Besod Shem Havaya Shalem. Lefi asher hachachma he besod os yud shel shem avaya. So since it's a yud, and inside of that yud shekola besochu kol arba osius shem avaya, that has within it, and if it could be spread out, you would see all the letters there. V'zeh yikra b'shem Yaakov. So this zeh is called by the name Yaakov. Pirush v'zeh shorish nishmaso. So this one, where the root of his neshama bebechinas bina. So Yikra b'shem Yaakov. So the root that comes from bina is called Yaakov, and the root that comes from Chachma is called Yisrael. Let's see. Yaakov. Ki hababina nignetze besod mochin besoch zer anpin. So here he says the mochin. Why do we call it like that? What's bina got to do with Yaakov, that name? It enters into Zer Anpin, Hanikra Yaakov, who's Yaakov at that time. Vaz Gam Habina Habinikra Shem Yaakov, so there the Bina is called by the same name too as it comes in. I guess it's absorbed in Zer Anpin. Ukasha Bina is Pashet is Zer Anpin and now spreads into Zer Anpin and Nikra Habakol Hanishma. Now, let me say it again. He says, as it spread, it's called a voice. So it could be like sound qualities. I'm not sure. Hanishma, but is heard. In other words, hearing is a concept of reception. So kol is always lashon zachar. So it's a kol. So some kind of vibratory, a la Rabbi Mimran, kol anishama. So anishma rather. Ozhu bechinas kriya, then it's called something read or calling. Shuhu al yedecha bekol begilui. This is when the voice is revealed. That is, it actually comes out. Now, he wants to say to me that there is a voice inside which doesn't come out, a vibratory voice or the root of it, something like that. V'chavabina nikras az shem gadol. Then bina, when this is happening and it's spreading, is called by the big name. V'zeh shen emer yikra b'shem Yaakov, and that's when it says that it should be called by the name of Yaakov. It's going into Yaakov. V'zeh yichtov yado l'Hashem, and this is what it means when it says, and he wrote his hand, v'yichtov yado, excuse me, the writing of his hand is for Hashem. Pirush. V'zeh sheshorsh nishmazach b'bechina chasana de Daas. Now we're talking about Daas and the nature of Daas. So if the root of a person's soul is coming from the right side of Daas, the chasadim in the Daas, yichtov yado, let's see his handwriting. The yichtov yado, his handwriting, besod shem havaya shalem shuhu chochma kanal. So that person who he wants to say that the Daas, the chesed in the Daas, the chasadim in the Daas, are related to chochma. So he said, Yichtov Yado Besod Shem Havaya. So there he has the ability to actually write out the whole name, Shalem Shuhu Chachma. Ki Chasad the Das, Huba Bechinas Chachma. So the Chasad of the Das are the aspect of Chachma, the Fisho Itra. So this is the root maybe of the word, the Itra de Abba. It's the crown of Abba. Abba places this in this Das, I guess. Up above, where originally came from, is Chachma. So it's connected to Chachma, it goes into the right side of the Das. But it doesn't spread, that is from the place, I'm not sure which doesn't spread. So it doesn't spread. So he said, Nikra b'shem Havaya shel Chachma, so therefore it's called the Havaya called Chachma. B'shem Yisrael Yechane. But then at that point it's called by the name Yisrael. Pirush, now switch over. He says that when the gevuros are counted, are entered into Zeranpin, the gevuros that are on the left side of the Das, it let it be called by the name of Zeranpin, which is of Yisrael. Now we're talking about Zeranpin, the all 10 spheros. For Inyan, who the Inyan is like this, ki gevuros the Das, who Itra de Ima, it's really the crown from Ima. I say from, or of Ima, Ima's crown. Shuhu Das and Mispashet, because Shisha Kitzvos, the Zer Anpin, which is the Das that spread into the 6 Kitzvos, the Zer Anpin, Hanikra Yisrael, who is called Yisrael. V'omer ki behis Pashet da Das de Ima of Zer Anpin, so as this Das spreads into Zer Anpin, Az Yechane, then you develop this name, Bina b'shem Yisrael mamish. So then I'm not sure what this means. Then Bina is called by the name Yisrael really. Below Yaakov, not yet Yaakov anymore. As Bina spreads into Yaakov, Yaakov develops into a Bina, or he develops aspects of Bina, I guess. Ki hadas mispasha bebechinis hagadlus. So and now as Za is growing, v'aznis ala zer anpen. Bechinas Yaakov, the Bechinas Yisrael, and so as this is coming in, the actually takes, I guess, both Abba and Ima to come into their anpin to make this Das. He said, Yisrael hu Bechinas Zachar, because Yisrael is always a male. Sheyarish Shnei Cholokim Chasadim, and it gets two different inheritances. One is Chasadim and Gevuros, both. The Messiah. And includes like this, Ki nimsa shel pasuk b'chula d'shlosha dargos. So let's just look at the pasuk again. He said, Keneged shlosh dargos chachma bina das. He says, Ki l'chein amar shlosh pa'amim zeh. So you see 3 different times that the word zeh is written in the pasuk. V'masha amar tehila, at the beginning it says, Zeh yomer l'Hashem ani. So this zeh is saying this. Hu b'bechinas chachma nikros achsa, because I didn't see it really developed how we got this word achsa. You mean achsa means the brother, maybe like that. Canal v'kula itmar, and all of it is stated v'kol ha'emshek ha'pasuk ne'embecha b'derek zeh. So the rest of the pasuk goes the same way. Kimasha amar zecha yikrach b'shem Yaakov. So when it says zeh, then it's going to be called by the name of Yaakov. Who had darga hashenis, which is called bina chanikla la'el, which says up above modata. She's called a modato. So what is a modato? Make her known. She's the speaker at the event. The speaker, but for the musician speaker. That's what I want to say. The broadcaster. The el modas. So Moda Umash Amar O, then what we say further, Yichtov Yadach Hashem. So this was and Yichtov Yadach LaHashem. So his handwriting, or he writes the writing of his hand for Hashem. Uv'Shem Yisroel Yechanes. So over there you see the letter, we're using that word Yisroel. Hu Hadarga Shlishi. That's the third level, which is called Daas. Anikra Le'el L'Shon. Over there it's called a tongue. So he said, so it has within it two different levels. One level is chesad, and the other one is gevur. Shahem Itra, the Abba, the Itra, the Ima. So they're crowns that come from those two. Which seems, I'm not sure what the meaning of the word Itra means figuratively. If you're actually, is it a pool? Does it mean like a pool of light on the top of their heads, which is called a crown? That's what I'm thinking. Anyway, v'lechein nizker b'pasuk shnei afanim. So we're mentioning two different ways where it's afanim yichtov yado l'Hashem. That phrase, his handwriter writes the writing of his hand for Hashem. V'shem Yisrael Yechane, and that also for that phrase here, ukal more, like we said, like that. So as these are mispashet into Zer Anpin, I said he becomes Benedik. V'hine ha'af sheyesh kan arbacha b'darkos chach b'bina itra the Abba v'itras the Ima. But he, at this level, he says, even though we see that you have the four, there are actually four mochin here. Im kol zecha b'Yaakov, but even so, if you look at those letters, Yud Kei Vav, Kulam Nechlalim B'Shlosh Osios, Yud Kei Vav, all of them are incorporated in this name Yaakov Shel Shem Havaya, those three letters. Ki Chachma Bina, because Chachma Bina him Osios, as we know, Yak. V'Shnei Itrim the Abba Ve'ima Kululim Yachad Ba'oz Vav, they come together into the letter Vav. So here we say the Vav goes lots of different ways. So he says Shuhu B'Chinas Das. So that's really the former of the bringing them together is Das. V'hu Zer Anpin Anikra Das. And this is another statement where he says that this is Zer Anpin, who's called Das. Sheyorish Shnei Chalokim Chasadim V'Gevuras B'Yachad, who inherits these two different portions that come from Abba Ve'ima into one, into him. V'lechem, he has them both. V'lechem Shnei Itrim the Abba Ve'ima Einem Nachshavim Rak Darga Acha. So therefore these two are not considered to be just one level. Ve'ein kan rak shlosh dargos kol more, and there's not only three levels. Ve'ein kan rak, there's only three levels. We don't see that. V'arma od ki kol shlosh dargos, and now all the three choch b'bin the das nichlala b'darga achas, then they all come together in one level too. Kula kalila b'lishon, all of them incorporated into the tongue. All of them get put together into this das, which is the middle line, hanikra lashon, which is called tongue. V'hainuki zer anpin hanikra das, can also there anpin, who's called das. Yorish gam b'chinas chach b'bina, it also inherits those two aspects, shehem mochin the Abba v'Ima, which are the mochin of Abba v'Ima. V'nivsiki kol shlosh dargos chach b'bina das shehem mochin the Abba v'Ima, all those letters, he says all those levels rather, v'Ima v'shnei itrin the das hakol nichlal b'bechinas achas, they all come together into oneness. Shal das shuhu zer anpin hayorish hakol, which is zer anpin, who inherits everything. Now we're going over to a new section, Iver, Yanika, Umochin. Looks interesting. Hine Yisod Abba. Let's look at the Yisod of Abba, Hanikra Lushon. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that is a stira to what he said previously, right? He said that he said that the tongue is machriya between the teeth and the palate. Here he says the Yisod, the Abba Ve'ima, the Yisod of Abba, just Abba, is called tongue. Niknas V'soisem Yisod Ima, it goes in and it closes up, it blocks up the Yisod of Ima, V'sod HaYichud Canal. This is what the Yichud looks like. Vayidei Kach, and so after Abba closes up, the Yisod of Abba closes the Yisod of Ima, Yedei kach nis amvra be'ima b'zer anpin. This blocking there of the Yisod in Yisod causes the birth of Zer Anpin rather, Hanikra Daas, which we previously had said is also known as Daas. Hanikra Loshan was also known as the tongue. Sasim the Ima. Vaz Nistam Pesach Yisod the Ima. Then what happens is that I guess after Ima is sealed up with the Yisod of Abba, then he says, Va'az Nistam Pesach Yisod the Ima. So then that the opening to the Yisod of Ima closes. Hayeder ha'uber, because she now is impregnated with the embryo inside of her, Shuhu Zer Anpin. So he blocks her on the bottom again. V'hine Ima na'asis atach bebechinas oz hey, the oz ches. At this point, Ima becomes like the letter ches, shehi sasam min, which is closed up on one side. Let's look at it like this. She was originally a Dalet, then the Yud Vav Dalet over there. He said, so now when Ima becomes impregnated with Zer Anpin, Niknas Oz Vav B'soch Oz Dalet, then the Vav, this came in, which was represented by the middle line again, which was, he said, was the Yisod of Abba, and now it's blocking up Ima. And now Ima has, though there it transforms into a Vav Zer Anpin, and this is inside of this Daled, Shechah B'Bechinas Zer Anpin, Haganas B'mei Ima, which is hidden in the womb of Ima, V'oz Soisim Zer Anpin as Pesach Yisod Ima, so then he closes it up there. So then now she's closed by the embryo. V'lechein mischaver ha'oz Vav shel Zer Anpin, L'gag ha'oz Daled shel Ima. So in the Dalet, so now you have the Gag there, which is horizontal, and now this Vav actually goes up to the point where it seals up that whole left side there, which is the womb, represents the womb of Ima, I guess, in this metaphor. So then he says like this, he says, V'na'asis Ima bebechinas oz ches, instead of being her a hey, so that the Vav, as a sealer, ches, which is stuma, closed up. Don't ask this question. Ima's a hey. Shashem b'vaya. Shehi oz besuchas always has an opening. So now you got to say that she's closed up over there. Besod oz hey stuma, which is that the chatz rather, which is closed. The truth of the chenu, because if you want to answer, is this: the hey is patchas la. Lay. So the oz hey shall Ima, that hey which represented Ima, lo niftakach ba'ela l'tzorach Zer Anpin, she was only opened up so that she could house Zer Anpin, be'ez aleda, at the time of birth. That's the only time she opens up. Ki l'chein nikra Zer Anpin miftacha, mafteach. It's called not a mafteach, it's called a key. Ki Zer Anpin polseach as Ima be'ez aleda, besod paterechem, because he's the first one that opens up the Rechem. Now, I'm really getting confused here, because he was talking about the Ches. Did he mean to say that Ima basically is like a Ches, but it only opens up if it's going to give birth to Zer Anpin? I'm not sure. Did he say that? I'm not sure. Vaz nishbach of a regel shall oz Ches, and when that happens, when birth takes place, that left-hand line breaks the Ima. So he said, "V'oz na'asis Ima bechinas oz hey." And then she becomes, when that regel breaks, she becomes a hey shehu pesucha minitzad, which has an opening. So that's at birth. There's a break. I guess the pressure breaks it open. Let's say like that. So therefore, now she's opened up, and now she's the secret of the letter hey. Then Zer Anpin is now an aspect. It's really a foot that came off of the letter hey. Now you could see it. There's Zer Anpin. He's out there. Shehi oz vav katan. It's a little vav. The nafik minah that's now coming out from her. You could see that hey is a part of Ima, which is, let's say, the bigger dalet, but the whole picture of her with this leg. Amdam achar kach yotzecha bezer anpin beima the gamri. Then he leaves Ima completely, becomes an individual. Az yotze v'nifta the gamri. So v'nifra. So then the leg completely separates from the shell Oz Hey. V'zer anpin az bebechinas Oz miyuchad. It becomes a combined letter. Bifnei atzma. So I guess miyuchad means designated or by itself. Bifnei atzma dahainu Oz vav shel shem avaya. That is, he is the vav of the name avaya. Now we have a little bit more. We can go. Stop here. Okay. Yeshkoyach, have a great Shabbos. Kol tov.